Elvis, there have been a lot of rumors about your love life. Did you meet anyone special in Germany?
Not any special one.
Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, left an indelible mark on music and philanthropy before his tragic passing. Throughout his life, he surrounded himself with a small circle of trusted friends, fiercely protecting his privacy. Now, over 4 decades after his death, his bodyguard, at 81, has finally come forward to reveal the truth behind long-rumored secrets. Could this explosive revelation add another chapter to the ever-growing legend of Elvis? Join us in this video as we find out. At 81, Elvis Presley's bodyguard finally confirms the rumors. Sonny West, whose full name was West Delbert Brian West Jr., was a bodyguard, close friend, and trusted confidant of Elvis Presley. He worked for Elvis for 16 years, alongside his cousin, Red West. Sonny was part of Elvis's inner circle, also known as the Memphis Mafia, and was a regular member of the group at Elvis's home in Graceland. Elvis upset me a few times, really upset me, but most of the time, he made me laugh. Still, through it all, one thing never changed: the music. No matter what happened, the music was always there. And when thinking about him, and the truth is, thoughts of him come to me every single day, the one thing that always stands out above all else is his kindness. For years, people asked if the stories were true, the quiet rumors that Elvis could be more than a star, more than the man on stage or screen. They asked if he really had a soft heart, if the generosity whispered about behind closed doors was real. Now, at 81, I can finally say, yes, the rumors were true, and there's one story that proves it, one I've carried with me all my life. It's a story that still touches me deeply, even now, the kind that never fades, like those old family tales about a quiet act of heroism or a single moment that changes everything. For me, that moment came the first time I saw Elvis reveal a side of himself no one else got to see. It began one quiet morning when the Commercial Appeal, the Memphis newspaper, ran a story about a woman, a small woman, who had been born without legs from the hips down. Despite her challenges, she had children, raised them, and was even helping to raise her grandchildren. She moved around on a wooden board with roller skates nailed to the bottom. To get around, she used a pair of leather-handled poles, like ski poles, pulling herself across the floor. That image, her strength and determination, stayed in our minds. Marty Lacker, always tuned in to what mattered, came across the article and brought the paper up to the house. The morning was quiet, just Elvis and a few of us at the dining room table, living the normal rhythm of a day. Marty handed the paper across the table and said, "Read this when you get a chance." Elvis nodded, finished eating, and eventually picked it up. The room went still as he read. Not a sound. He didn't say a word. But when he looked up, there was no hesitation in his voice. Just calm, direct certainty. "Find out where she lives." Marty got on the phone, contacted the newspaper, and made it happen. Elvis acted without delay, buying the most expensive electric wheelchair available. There was no back and forth, no need for discussion. He knew exactly what to do. A small group of us went with him: Priscilla, Marty, Alan, Richard, Billy, and me. We loaded the wheelchair into the trunk and drove to her home. When we got there, we carried it to the front door with care. Her husband answered, a man who'd once worked on the railroad, and welcomed us in. He called out to her, and soon we heard her making her way through the house. The home was spotless. The carpet was a bright, perfect white, and the linoleum kitchen floors shone like glass. Every corner spoke of pride. Then she appeared, and when her eyes landed on the wheelchair, she gasped. "Oh my, she whispered, and the tears came instantly. She didn't have to ask. She knew. She understood. It was for her. Her tears flowed, and ours weren't far behind. Together, gently, we lifted her, Elvis on one side, me on the other, and placed her in the chair. She touched the armrests, the controls, the fabric. Her hands moved slowly, reverently. And then, in the quiet of that room, something sacred passed between us. The chair was unfamiliar, but it meant everything. It wasn't just about movement, it was about dignity. It offered freedom. It offered hope. There was no big announcement. No "From Elvis Presley" label, just a simple truth. The chair was hers, and it came from someone who cared. Her tears didn't stop, and neither did ours. It was overwhelming, the purity of the moment, the weight of what it meant. We had to leave. It was too much for words. Outside, Alan quietly said what we were all thinking. She might not even know who he is. But that didn't matter, because she didn't need to know Elvis Presley the star. She only needed to know this: someone saw her, someone cared, and that someone changed her life in silence, with no cameras, no crowd. And now, all these years later, I finally say it out loud. Yes, the rumors were true. Elvis was more than the legend. He was a man who gave without asking anything in return, and I saw it with my own eyes. Following the revelation from Elvis Presley's Bodyguard about his generosity, let's explore his philanthropic legacy in greater detail. Elvis Presley's generosity, changing lives through giving. Elvis Presley's generosity is something many people are deeply thankful for, yet few truly grasp the full extent of his giving nature throughout his life. His charitable contributions reached into thousands of dollars, benefiting charities, nonprofits, and individuals who needed support. From the very start of his career, giving back became an ongoing commitment that defined his legacy. One example of this was when Elvis purchased the USS Potomac and donated it to St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis, where it was later sold as part of a fundraiser to support the hospital's mission. Even in the early years of his career, Elvis was known for his generosity. He donated toys to a Marine drive to benefit children, and he gave $1,050 to Humes High School so that all 1,400 students could attend the annual E.H. Crump Memorial Football Game for the blind. In 1959, during his time in Germany, he also made a heartfelt gesture by donating blood to the German Red Cross at the Wartturm Barracks in Friedberg. Elvis never lost touch with his roots, and he continuously supported his hometown. In 1956 and 1957, he returned to Tupelo, Mississippi, to perform benefit concerts raising money for a youth center and park. He also stood by communities in times of disaster. After a devastating tornado struck Macomb, Mississippi, in January 1975, Elvis organized and performed at a benefit concert in May of that same year. At this memorable event, he presented a check for over $100,000 to Mississippi Governor Bill Waller to aid in the city's recovery. Elvis's love for helping others reached even further across the nation. In 1961, he held a benefit concert to raise funds for the USS Arizona Memorial at Pearl Harbor, raising more than $65,000 for the cause. And in 1973, his generous spirit shone through once again when he donated the entire proceeds from his historic Aloha from Hawaii satellite concert to the Kui Lee Cancer Fund, helping to raise awareness and financial support for cancer research. What event might have caused Elvis Presley's bodyguard to speak out after all these years? Stay tuned to find out. The untold story behind the firing of Elvis's bodyguards. In July 1976, Red and Sonny West, along with Dave Hebler, were dismissed from their roles as Elvis Presley's bodyguards by Elvis's father, Vernon Presley. Red had known Elvis since their high school days, and their friendship had grown deep over the years. He became a trusted part of Elvis's inner circle in 1955, taking on the duties of both driver and bodyguard. Sonny, Red's cousin, was introduced to Elvis in early 1958 and began working for him in 1960, after Elvis re-emerged into the public eye following his 2-year service in the U.S. Army. Hebler met Elvis for the first time in 1972 and was later brought on board as part of the security team. Why they were fired has remained a matter of debate, with different people offering different reasons. According to Elvis and his father, the decision was a cost-cutting measure to reduce payroll expenses. But others, including those close to Elvis, believed that the real reason was deeper, that Red, Sonny, and Hebler were among the few who dared to confront Elvis about his growing dependency on illegal substances. Another explanation pointed to their security methods, which sometimes caused injuries to fans, resulting in lawsuits against Elvis, something he could no longer afford to risk. Elvis had a history of occasionally letting go of people in his inner circle, only to rehire them later when tempers cooled. Red, Sonny, and Hebler, along with other friends, thought this was likely the case again. But before things could be resolved, the three men had already begun working on a revealing book. It was also widely known that Vernon Presley didn't like most of the men in his son's close-knit entourage. Many within Elvis's circle believed that Vernon would have done everything in his power to prevent Elvis from rehiring them. After their dismissal, the three men decided to write a tell-all book about their time with Elvis. They insisted their goal wasn't revenge or money. According to them, the book was an attempt to intervene, to help Elvis confront the reality of his self-destructive lifestyle before it was too late. They brought in Steve Dunleavy, a gossip columnist for the National Star who would later become a correspondent for A Current Affair, to help them write and publish the book. When Elvis learned about the project, he was furious. He hoped the three men would reconsider, or that his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, might find a way to block its publication. The book offered a behind-the-scenes view of Elvis's private life through the eyes of Red, Sonny, and Hebler. It recounted moments involving his intimate life, substance use, music career, and his personal relationships with the three men. To protect identities, many of the names in the book were changed, though this caused some readers to question whether the events and people described were real. Still, writer Alan Hansen later observed that after Elvis's death, due to substance-related issues, the book Elvis: What Happened immediately gained credibility. Its title echoed the question on everyone's mind at the time. In the years that followed, as more of Elvis's former associates came forward, some, though not all, of the book's claims were confirmed. Jerry Schilling, one of Elvis's closest friends, commented on the book by saying, "Elvis's home is the only private place he has, and what goes on there should remain private." Who is Elvis Presley, the man behind the fame, beyond what his bodyguard revealed? Keep watching to find out. The rise of Elvis Presley, from humble beginnings to global icon. Elvis Presley was born in a small house in Tupelo, Mississippi during the Great Depression. His parents, Vernon and Gladys Presley, struggled financially but were deeply religious and attended church regularly. It was in this church that Elvis first encountered gospel music, which would later shape his musical style. Although his family had little money, music was always an important part of their lives. At 11, Elvis received his first guitar which sparked his love for music. He didn't have formal lessons, but participated in local talent shows, showcasing his growing talent. By 13, the family moved to Memphis, Tennessee, in search of better opportunities. Elvis attended Humes High School and was known as a shy, talented musician. He would bring his guitar to school and play for his classmates during lunch breaks, earning admiration for his skill. Memphis was a city full of vibrant African-American music, especially blues, gospel, and rhythm and blues. Elvis spent time in music shops and attended performances that influenced his unique sound. In 1954, Elvis recorded "That's All Right" at Sun Studio, a session he paid for himself. This became his first single, and Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records, quickly saw the potential in Elvis's unique blend of musical styles, which appealed to both white and black audiences. As Elvis's career took off, he became a sensation known for his electrifying stage presence and rebellious image. His hit songs like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, and Don't Be Cruel solidified his place in music history. His popularity grew, and he became a leading figure in the rock and roll movement. Elvis's bold and sometimes controversial stage performances earned him the nickname Elvis the Pelvis, which only increased his appeal. In 1968, Elvis returned to live performances with the '68 Comeback Special, marking a turning point in his career. The special, featuring intimate performances, helped re-establish him as a serious musical artist after years of focusing on movies. His performances became more stripped down and reflective of his roots, contrasting with the flashy shows of his earlier career. In 1973, Elvis's Aloha from Hawaii concert was broadcast live via satellite to a global audience, further solidifying his international fame. This concert was a milestone in his career, showing his global reach and the evolution of his performances. Over time, his concerts became more commercialized, focusing on spectacle and fan favorites rather than new material. Despite this, his legacy as a pioneering force in music remained strong, inspiring generations of fans. Elvis's ability to adapt to changing trends in the music industry while staying true to his roots ensured his lasting place in history as the king of rock and roll. Even after his death in 1977, his influence continued to thrive, with his music remaining beloved by fans worldwide. Apart from his career, did Elvis Presley experience true love, and did it bring him happiness? Keep watching to find out. Elvis Presley's first love, the heartfelt story of Dixie Locke and the early years of his love life. Elvis Presley and Dixie Locke Emmons shared a deeply special and genuine relationship that many would describe as pure. Their love grew before Elvis became the famous king of rock and roll. At first, their relationship was simple, real, and full of hope. But as Elvis's fame grew, their bond became harder to keep. Despite the challenges from his rising stardom, their love was an important part of Elvis's early life and continued to influence him in many ways. They first met in 1953 at the First Assembly of God Church in Memphis, Tennessee, after Elvis and his family moved there from Tupelo. Elvis had learned that the Blackwood Brothers, a famous Southern gospel group, attended the church, so he began going there with his family. Dixie was only 15 and Elvis was 19. She noticed him, and he was also interested in her, though he was a shy young man at the time. To catch his attention, Dixie planned a casual outing with her friends to go roller skating, making sure that Elvis overheard their plans. By then, Elvis was becoming known, and Dixie, a beautiful local girl, found herself drawn to him. His growing fame, unique style, and good looks made it hard for her to ignore him. With his long hair and charm, Elvis quickly made an impression. including on Dixie. Their relationship started in January 1954, and it was a sweet and simple connection. They would spend time together 3 to 4 nights a week, enjoying quiet moments away from the public eye. Elvis attended Dixie's Southside High School prom on May 6, 1955, and their bond continued to grow. As they became closer, they found more in common, and Elvis introduced Dixie to his family. His parents accepted her as if she were their own daughter, hoping that one day she and Elvis would marry. One thing Dixie admired most about Elvis was his deep love for his mother, whom he always called the First Lady of his heart. Their love was simple, built on things like attending church together, which gave Elvis comfort and stability. They also enjoyed dancing at local events. Their dream was to have a peaceful, private life, far from the pressures of fame. But as Elvis's career took off, that dream quickly faded. His fame demanded more of his time, and as he got busier, he had less time for Dixie. Still, their love remained an important support for Elvis, and Dixie's encouragement helped him stay grounded. She reminded him of his roots and the values he held dear. However, as Elvis's career grew, their relationship began to weaken. He went on more tours, and his fan base grew. While on tour, he sent love letters to Dixie, but she began to notice changes in his behavior. Elvis started to change his look, dyeing his hair black and wearing more attention-grabbing clothes, which made him even more popular with female fans. His new appearance only added to his appeal. During this time, Elvis also met other women, like June Carter and Wanda Jackson, who showed interest in him. Even though he reassured Dixie of his love, his actions were different. Elvis began flirting with other women, and sometimes even kissed them backstage. The attention from these women seemed to captivate him, making it harder for him to stay focused on Dixie. As his fame grew, the gap between them widened, and their relationship became more strained. Despite their shared history, Elvis's rising stardom and the temptations that came with it ultimately caused their once strong bond to break apart. Dixie ended her relationship with Elvis on good terms, marking the end of an important chapter in both of their lives. Even though they broke up, Dixie admitted that she never stopped loving Elvis. She kept up with his career from afar and said he would always have a special place in her heart as her first love. She still cherishes the memories of their time together. Elvis, too, often looked back at his time with Dixie and remembered a time when life was simpler. Their story shows how meaningful a first love can be. After their breakup, Dixie married someone else and had children. Elvis later married Priscilla Presley, and they had a daughter together. It was with Priscilla that Elvis finally found love and married. Beyond his success and the stories told about Elvis Presley, did he have hidden struggles? What were they? And was he able to overcome them? The struggles of Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley faced several health challenges in the years leading up to his death, and many have linked his declining health to his struggle with addiction. However, historian and author Alana Hodel believes there's more to the story than the commonly accepted explanation. Hodel explained, Elvis didn't die from a substance overdose, as many people believe. He died due to a heart-related issue. She pointed out that similar health problems ran through Elvis's family. His mother passed away at the age of 46 after suffering from a 4-year period of declining health. Elvis also had 3 uncles on his mother's side who died from liver and heart-related issues at ages 46, 49, and 58, she added. Hodel suggests that Elvis's health issues and his untimely death were part of a larger inherited problem within his family. Many believe Elvis's health problems were caused by his lifestyle, which is partly true, she said. But the reality is that a significant portion of his poor health was beyond his control. Elvis's health issues were not only a result of his fame. Hodel noted that Elvis had health problems affecting 9 of the 11 major systems in his body. At least 5 of these problems were present before he became famous and were most likely genetic, she explained. These illnesses weren't caused by the stress of his fame or his battles with prescription medication. In fact, he was often self-medicating in an attempt to cope with these long-standing health problems. As Elvis approached his final year, his health continued to deteriorate. Hodel shared, during the final year of his life, he spent much more time in his bedroom at Graceland, between tours, because he wasn't feeling well. Beyond his health, Elvis's time away from the spotlight during his 2 years of military service had a profound impact on him. Hodel highlighted that Elvis was deeply worried during his time in the U.S. Army from 1958 to 1960. He was drafted at the height of his fame and feared that fans would forget about him while he was away serving his country, Hodel said. Fortunately, Elvis's return to the public eye after his military service proved to be a triumph. When he came back with the special on Frank Sinatra, he was just as popular as ever, Hodel noted. He quickly followed up with a successful run of movies. Despite the success he experienced after his return, Elvis made the decision to stop appearing in films and return to his first love, music. Hodel explained, Elvis always knew he was destined to return to live performances. It was a natural part of his career, and he loved being Elvis Presley. While his professional life flourished, Elvis faced tremendous personal struggles due to the intense scrutiny that came with his fame. The pressure of his celebrity took a toll on his relationships, particularly with family and romantic partners. His enormous popularity made it difficult for him to keep any sense of privacy, adding strain to his personal life. The weight of fame, especially at such a young age, was exhausting for Elvis. Hodel explained that balancing his public and private lives was incredibly difficult for him. The constant attention made him feel isolated, and he often struggled with loneliness, feeling disconnected from others. Elvis was constantly under a microscope, Hodel said, which left him feeling misunderstood and isolated. Elvis's fame also caused strain in his romantic relationships. The public's insatiable curiosity about his personal life put significant pressure on him and those closest to him. Over time, the stress and scrutiny of being under the public's eye led to tension, and many of Elvis's relationships ultimately ended because they couldn't handle the pressure. The challenges that came with fame made it difficult for Elvis to trust those around him. He often wondered if the people in his life were truly interested in him as a person or only in his fame. This lack of trust left him struggling to form meaningful, deep relationships, which further contributed to his sense of isolation. To cope with the pressures of fame and personal struggles, Elvis relied on a small group of trusted friends, including members of the Memphis Mafia, as well as his romantic partners. However, his constant need for privacy and protection from the public created additional tension, which made it even harder for him to maintain a peaceful and stable personal life. Elvis Presley's life story is marked by the immense difficulty of living with the pressures of fame while trying to maintain personal relationships. His experiences illustrate how challenging it can be to balance a public persona with private needs, and how the intense scrutiny that comes with being one of the most famous people in the world can weigh heavily on every aspect of one's life. Could his struggles have been the cause of his downfall, or did he find a way to rise above them? Stay tuned to find out. Elvis Presley's final days and legacy. Elvis Presley tragically passed away on August 16, 1977, from a heart attack. According to the New York Times, the initial findings from his autopsy indicated that the cause of death was cardiac arrhythmia, a condition that causes the heart to beat irregularly and inefficiently. Dr. Jerry Francisco, the Shelby County coroner who conducted the autopsy, dedicated 2 hours to thoroughly examining Elvis's body. Initially, the cause of the arrhythmia remained unclear, which led to widespread speculation that Elvis might have died due to a substance overdose. This theory gained traction after reports surfaced that 10 different prescription substances had been found in his system at the time of death. However, in October, the New York Times clarified that substances were not the primary cause of Elvis's death. While it was true that prescription substances were present in his body, the official cause of death was attributed to hypertensive heart disease, with coronary artery heart disease playing a role as well. Dr. Francisco's official report clearly reflected these conclusions. Dr. George Nicopolis, Elvis's longtime friend and personal physician, told the New York Times that he did not believe Elvis had a serious substance problem, though he acknowledged that Elvis had accidentally abused substances over time. In the years leading up to his death, Elvis was battling multiple health problems. He had been hospitalized 4 times over a 5-year span for issues related to hypertension and complications from an impacted colon. Additionally, he was dealing with mild diabetes and liver problems. Despite the coroner's ruling, rumors about substances being involved in Elvis's death persisted. Family members and close associates spoke openly about his ongoing struggle with prescription medications. David E. Stanley, Elvis's stepbrother and road bodyguard, offered a candid look into the situation in his 2016 memoir, My Brother Elvis: The Final Years. Stanley admitted that his job often felt more like babysitting, and he expressed his frustration, saying, "I felt more like a nursing home aide." In a 1989 interview with People, Stanley confessed that he couldn't fully comprehend what was happening with Elvis's addiction and felt helpless, sharing, "I had this naive belief that Elvis could do anything, even overcome a prescription substance addiction." On the day Elvis passed, he was found unconscious by his fiancée, Ginger Alden, at his famous Graceland home in Memphis, Tennessee. He had been discovered lying on the bathroom floor in his master suite, a place he held sacred and reserved only for his closest confidants. Graceland, which boasted 18 rooms and was valued at $1 million, became Elvis's sanctuary from the pressures of his fame. It was a private retreat where he could escape the constant spotlight. Since opening to the public in 1982, Graceland has attracted millions of visitors. However, the second floor of the mansion remains sealed off in respect for the family's wishes and to maintain their privacy. The estate is renowned for several unique features, such as the Jungle Room, which was later converted into a recording studio, and the kitchen where Elvis often made his beloved peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Visitors can also explore the Meditation Garden, a tranquil space where Elvis is laid to rest alongside other family members, cementing his place in both his personal and public legacy. What are your thoughts on the revelations from Elvis Presley's Bodyguard? Do you think Elvis really experienced a fulfilled life before his tragic passing? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.